Look, thank you everybody for coming. I'm here to stand against the protection racket that is the Diversity Champions scheme from Stonewall, and to call for employers to join the flood of others who've left it. But I hope you don't mind if I take this opportunity to speak to you about what's been happening to me over the last 48 hours, instead of the speech I originally prepared. You may know this already, but a man has managed to persuade the police to invite me to an interview, under caution, regarding my Twitter account, FemLoves. So what kind of offensive criminal content can you expect to see on my account? I speak from my heart about love and about boundaries. I talk about recovering from childhood sexual abuse. I speak about child protection and how to safeguard children from the kind of monsters who put their hands on me when I was still a little girl, when I was vulnerable and lost and frightened and alone. Before I found my voice and the courage to raise it. Before I lifted up my bowed head, looked straight in the face of what happened to me and healed my broken heart. Before my wife put her strong arms around me and kissed me, and in the perfect secret circle of her arms, a sacred circle that no shame can enter, I found myself safe in the only home I have ever known. I talk about that too, and about the love between women. I say that men should leave lesbians the hell alone. I talk about the erosion of boundaries which is inherent in the form of queer theory. I say that women deserve our own sports. I argue that vulnerable women in shelters and prisons should not be housed with males. I say with passion that dysphoric people like my beautiful wife should not be rushed down the affirmation route, and the wrong sex hormones and cosmetic surgeries should be an absolute last resort for the treatment of what is, at its root, a mental health condition. Hear, hear! And here goes. I argue that if you're swinging your penis about in a woman's changing room, you are not a dysphoric trans person. You're a predator. And if I were not prohibited by the Twitter terms of service from saying so, I would tweet out every day the plain fact that men can't be women. Hear, hear! Perhaps naively, when I first joined this fight, I thought that the police would protect everyday working families like mine, talking on topics like these. So when I faced a wall of death threats, rape threats, threats of sectarian violent pornographic photographs and videos, homophobic abuse, and calls to go back to where you came from on my Twitter account, I reported them to the Police Service of Northern Ireland. They took no action. But one phone call from a man who has a history of using the police service as his own personal enforcement arm against women he disagrees with, and the Police Service of Northern Ireland have threatened me with arrest if I don't attend voluntarily to be interviewed under caution. I have excellent legal representation. My solicitor is confident that there is no case to answer, that I won't ever go anywhere near a courtroom, although he does think I'll have to be interviewed one way or the other. But don't worry about me. This is not about me. This is about the dirty tactics of a movement which delights in intimidating and bullying their opponents into silence, using fair means or foul. Enough. This has gone far enough now. The complainant in this case cannot be allowed to continue to weaponize police forces across the country to silence voices he disagrees with, whilst he capers and gloats and feigns terror because he's triggered by tweets. He's a bully. I do not pander to bullies. I do not cower before bullies. I put them on notice, and I employ all legal means at my disposal to have them stopped. Hear, hear. My solicitor informs me there are various channels open to me in this regard, so the complainant can expect to hear from me in due course. But it isn't just the complainant I'm putting on notice. This is not about me. It's the police service of Northern Ireland. It's Stonewall. And it's the massive fraud they call the Diversity Champions scheme. The police questions for me? Good, because I've got questions for them. Questions like, what influence does being a member of the Stonewall Diversity Champions scheme have on the way you police this issue? Questions like, when I reported death and rape threats to you, you told me to withdraw from the debate and stop tweeting. So did you offer the same advice to the man who complained against me? Questions like, what underpinned your decision to interview me under caution for tweets about child protection, whilst you completely ignored direct threats on my life? I have a long list of other questions for the police service of Northern Ireland, and they can expect to hear from me in the form of freedom of information requests in the coming days. My solicitor is helping me explore other possible actions, including a complaint to the Ombudsman. In the meantime, I have a message for the police service of Northern Ireland. I am politely declining your invitation to be interviewed voluntarily, under caution, at the station. Furthermore, if you want to arrest me, come and arrest me if you want to ask your questions, because here I am. Come and arrest a lesbian woman, a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, a campaigner for women and children. Come and arrest me for the crime of tweeting about how to protect children from grooming and sexual predation. Put this survivor in handcuffs and put me in a room. Go ahead, ask your questions. Make yourselves the tools of a man who, with his army of vindictive and spiteful supporters, has terrorised women across the nation, all the while making claims about his own victimhood. But before you come to arrest me for offences under the Malicious Communications Act, for homophobic and transphobic hate crime, I ask you to read my tweets. Read the thread that caused such offence to that man, not a single word of which has violated Twitter's terms of service or mentioned him by name. Go ahead and read my pinned tweets as well. Scroll through all my tweets. They're all there for you to see. See if you can find a single word of hatred in what I have written. You will not. In the meantime, I'm going to save you a job. I'm going to plead guilty ahead of time. If it's bigoted to say there's a sacred duty on adults to safeguard children from predators, paedophiles and perverts, then I'm guilty. If it's transphobic to call people out for saying it's a woman's penis, to excuse a male predator exposing his genitals to children in the women's changing room at a spa, then I'm guilty. If it's malicious communications to raise my voice and stand fierce and unafraid in defence of women and girls, then I'm guilty. If it's a crime to write from my heart about love and boundaries in Northern Ireland in 2021, then it's a crime I'm proud to be guilty of. If those are imprisonable offences, then off to prison I will go. But this isn't about sending me to prison. It won't get that far. This is an attempt to intimidate me, to bully me into silence, to shut me up. I'm here to tell you now, if you haven't worked out already, it's not going to work. I am not going to be cowed. I am not going to be trodden down. I am not going to be beaten. I am not going to appease bullies, cowards and misogynists. And I am definitely not going to shut up. And I'll finish with this. A message from me. A message from me to the complainant, to the police service of Northern Ireland and to Stonewall. You've picked a fight with the wrong woman.